This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Monday, the 14th day of November in the year 2022. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting. Here's what we're tracking tonight. The local content secretariat followed the Chief Justice's Friday order and this morning issued the Rams Logistics Company with a local content certificate. On Friday, the acting Chief Justice Roxanne George ordered the local content secretariat to issue the certificate to the company by 12 noon today. Just after 11 this morning, Rams received a certificate which allows it to work fully in the oil and gas sector. However, the government is now contemplating appealing the Chief Justice's ruling. Moments after the Secretariat issued the local content certificate to Rams, the Ministry of Natural Resources released a statement announcing that while the government has followed the court's ruling, it is considering an appeal. The statement said the government of Guyana respects the rule of law and the independence of the local judiciary, and therefore will comply with the ruling. However, the statement said there are strong concerns by the Ministry of Natural Resources as to the eligibility of the Rams Company for local content certification, and as such, the government is currently exploring all available options, including an appeal of the Chief Justice's ruling. The Chief Justice, in her ruling on Friday, found that the local content secretariat had breached the Local Content Act when it refused to issue the company, Rams Logistics, with a certificate of registration, though it reached the 51% requirement with regards to Guyanese ownership. The Chief Justice said the applicants satisfied the statutory requirements and preconditions necessary for the grant or issuance of a certificate of registration under the Act. The Chief Justice, in handing down her decision, also said the Minister of Natural Resources and the Local Content Secretariat had fallen short in countering the application filed by the logistics company. She also declared that the Local Content Act was deficient and had no rules and no regulations. She highlighted a number of requirements that were being demanded by the Secretariat and that were not part of the Act. Rams Logistics has been operating in Guyana for almost a decade and has grown into one of the largest logistics companies in the country, serving the oil and gas sector. The Ministry of Natural Resources also revealed today that the Rams Logistics Company has settled its cases with the Guyana Revenue Authority. Rams Logistics is originally from Trinidad and Tobago. Following the passage of the local content legislation, the company got the Guyanese national to buy into a majority of its shares for the Guyana company in keeping with the requirements of the legislation. The company currently employs hundreds of Guyanese nationals in key senior and junior positions. More than 95% of its workforce is Guyanese. The company's chairman had complained in the press that he believes there were attempts by dark forces in the Guyana private sector to prevent the company's expansion and growth in the Guyana oil and gas sector. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's been a long time coming. Overdue, some might say. But now that it's here, it will change life forever. And it is here to stay. The future is now. Transforming Guyana into the 21st century. Introducing GTT Fiber. Experience internet connectivity like never before. Speeds you deserve at prices you can afford from a name you can trust. Sign up today. GTT Fiber is here. GTT. Together, we rise faster.
Giftland Office Max, we're all about customer satisfaction. Whether it's clothing and shoes for the ladies, gents, and kids, or for the latest electronics or hardware appliance, we're always thinking of satisfying you, our dear customers. Now you can shop online at www.giftlandofficemax.com or visit us at the Giftland Mall, where we're happy to serve each and every one of you.
team in the spot, champagne got pop, and everything black. November 26th, how we playing this hit high profile. Who could you see the smoke from the tip? It's H, J, everything black, everything dark. Funny party style, this gal galore, so nobody ain't got shock. If a battle in your arm, flash if you want fly high. H, J, and everything black.
Darkness. What happens in the dark comes to life on Saturday, 26th of November. Early bird tickets $2,000 and VIP $10,000. Movie Town parking lot.
Mobil 1 is more than oil. It's many oils. It transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobil 1 adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
Guyana is the authorized distributor of Mobil lubricants.
It's November already and soon it will be Christmas, so we at John Lewis Styles are giving away one Amazon Echo show every week in November and every day in December. Stream music and videos, make video calls and control smart devices, alarms, reminders and lots more. Every $5,000 spent gives you a chance to win when you shop for clothing, footwear, watches, fragrances, handbags, luggage and accessories. So visit us on Waterloo Street. John Lewis Styles, simply different.
Welcome back. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal has announced that the government has already drafted regulations and guidelines to accompany the Local Content Act. His statement came in response to the recent ruling by the Chief Justice, who noted that the Local Content Act was without regulations and rules. The Attorney General said the regulations and guidelines being drafted will further enhance the legislative framework, as well as set out criteria which will inform the exercise of discretion and guide the decision-making processes enshrined in the legislation. He also said the measures will also address the conduct of operators in the sector, including their compliance levels with related legislative and administrative requirements. The Attorney General said the draft regulations and guidelines will now benefit from the ruling of the Chief Justice and the experience garnered so far in the sector. The Attorney General explained that the Local Content Act, which was passed in the National Assembly last December, was an initial attempt on the part of government to create a novel statutory framework. He said as a result, they promised that it will remain under constant review, and it is being reviewed. He said the government is satisfied that the Act provides a solid foundation which has guided the sector thus far and has enabled a protective network for the interests of Guyanese and Guyanese companies operating in the sector. Today, the Local Content Secretariat has issued more than 350 local content certificates. However, it found itself in a legal battle with the Rams Logistics Company after it refused to grant the company a license to operate in the oil and gas sector. It lost that battle on Friday when the Chief Justice handed down her ruling in favor of Rams. Country Manager of ExxonMobil Guyana, Alistair Rutledge, has issued a call for the greater collaboration between the government and private sector to ensure that Guyanese are properly trained to play key roles in the country's thriving oil and gas sector. Speaking at the just concluded Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry's Business Development Forum, the Exxon boss said while more than half of the local oil and gas workforce are Guyanese nationals, there is still need to develop crucial skills.
We know the challenge firsthand of finding enough fully trained, capable people. We know the threat of the Dutch disease as a new industry comes in and drives hard to grow its sector, that we are taking valuable resources potentially away from other parts of the economy. So it's absolutely critical that the education sector, whether it be for vocational skills or professional skills, comes to the table and increases activity, increases capacity, and accelerates the development of the people.
Rutledge explained that ExxonMobil, through its Greater Guyana initiative, has been supporting education programs at the University of Guyana and at the technical vocational education and training institutions. And he said the work has commenced on the new Guyana Technical College in collaboration with the government to ensure the country produces the best to support the sector.
That institution is going to help us develop and train people in the country that can displace expatriate workers in the offshore by building up their skills to international standards so that they can be the ones that operate and maintain the facilities offshore.
The country manager also noted that ExxonMobil Guyana is committed to its role in cooperating and working with all stakeholders to ensure that the people of Guyana benefit from what is ultimately their resource.
In a highly technical new industry, we have already exceeded 60% of the workforce are Guyanese. That's more than 4,400 Guyanese workers supporting ExxonMobil and our primary contractors here in the oil and gas sector. That represents a significant amount of training, whether that be formal training or on-the-job training, and that is making a huge difference.
It was noted that ExxonMobil and its partners also continue to support local vendors and suppliers. It was pointed out that work still needs to be done on supply chain. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal today rubbished calls by the opposition APNU-AFC for a clean voters list before the hosting of future elections. The Attorney General specifically took aim at the opposition leader Aubrey Norton, who has been leading the calls for a new list. In a release today, the Attorney General said the calls by the opposition leader are by itself unlawful, since the Guyana Elections Commission cannot embark on an exercise to remove persons' names from the voters list unless those persons are disqualified from being on the list. The Attorney General said there are other ways to clean the voters list other than house-to-house registration, and those avenues, he argued, are being explored. He reiterated, like every other country that has implemented a system of continuous registration, the system in Guyana provides mechanisms to remove disqualified persons from the list at periodic intervals. He said the claims and objections mechanism is one of them. Nandlal explained that Guyanese are qualified to be registered on the voters list once they are of 18 years and over, and that upon registration they are qualified to vote. Likewise, he noted Guyanese can only be removed from the list if they become disqualified, and that the grounds of disqualification are explicitly set out in Article 159 of the Constitution, either by death or otherwise disqualified. He said the legal truth is that those persons once Guyanese and are 18 years and over are lawfully on the list and cannot be removed therefrom unless they become disqualified. But the opposition leader has been raising concern about the size of the recently released preliminary voters list for the upcoming elections. He said the list contains 684,354 names, equivalent to over 91% of the country's population. He also argued that that would mean a mere 9% of the country's population is below the age of 18.
Calling all prospective homeowners. The government of Guyana, through the Ministry of Housing and Water, will be rolling out its steel and cement housing subsidy program from Tuesday, October 25, 2022. Applicants must be a citizen of Guyana residing in the country, must be in possession of a title or transport for their house lot, must have an approved building plan and loan approval from a financial institution. Persons with a builder's estimate below $6 million can qualify for 1 sling of cement, 80 lengths of half-inch steel rods and 63/8-inch rods. Those with builders' estimate ranging from $6 million to $25 million can qualify for 2 slings of cement. Application forms can be uplifted from the Ministry's Brickdam Main Office, Georgetown, and all regional housing offices from Tuesday, October 25, 2022. For more information and online applications, visit our website at chpa.gov.gy.
Census takers are visiting communities across Guyana and collecting information from every household. This information will help the government to plan better for our country's development. All the information shared will be treated as strictly confidential, and everyone is asked to participate. No one should be alarmed about any question asked, because the answers provided will help to improve living standards, decrease community crime rates, and improve access to housing and healthcare, among other benefits.
The census gives us the tool to identify some of these important gaps that exist across communities, within communities, and across regions, so that we can have targeted intervention.
Yeah, we counting way from region 1 to region 10, the whole country. Yeah, we counting way.
The Alliance for Change, which is part of the APNU-AFC coalition, has announced that it will not be contesting the upcoming local government elections in March, owing to its lingering concerns about the current voters list. The AFC believes the list is bloated, and a new voters list must be put in place for any other election. The party's General Secretary, Sherrod Duncan, made the announcement on Sunday.
The Alliance for Change has concluded that these elections should not be held on the existing list of electors because it is bloated, illegitimate, and a source of electoral fraud, as demonstrated during the publicized national recount. On the face of it, the current list contains names of persons deceased, migrated, or even duplicates.
Mr. Duncan said during the national recount after the 2020 general elections, it was found that there were instances where votes were cast for persons who were dead and persons who had migrated. The party said going into elections again with that same list, which was the source of problems in 2020, will create more confusion.
The NEC believes that participating in these elections with a list proven deficient and containing widespread discrepancies would perpetuate a fraud on the Guyanese people and undermine our democratic system. The AFC has already called on the Guyana Elections Commission to produce a credible voters list by conducting a certified house-to-house verification and registration process. Accordingly, we would go as far as supporting the postponement of local government elections, as was done in 1992, to present a clean voters list to the electorate.
The Alliance for Change has also reiterated its calls for the use of biometrics to enhance confidence in the electoral system. The party said that unless there are changes, it will not be contesting the elections, noting that Guyanese must feel a sense of confidence when they cast their ballots. Police investigators are continuing their probe of the shooting death of Ling Avenue West Ramville resident Dexter McFarlane. The 53-year-old man was killed by a stray bullet as 2 groups of men opened fire on each other in the area on Friday. 2 of the men were spotted on a security camera in the area, and investigators are looking for them. Residents in the area said on Friday afternoon there were loud gunshots as 2 men on a motorcycle and another group opened fire on each other. When the gunshots ended, McFarlane, who was a distance away, was spotted in a nearby drain with a fatal gunshot wound. Emergency services were contacted, but he was pronounced dead at the scene.
Yeah, we counting way from region 1 to region 10, the whole country.
We've just completed our census interview. It's quite a simple process. Whenever the team comes to your home, kindly cooperate and get the interview done, because it's also important for the information to be available to us as a government to plan and implement our programs and projects for the development of Guyana. a development that you will benefit from.
We counting we from region 1 to region 10, the whole country.
Food Max Supermarket, located on the ground floor at the Giftland Mall, is your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. We stock a variety of imported frozen meat and food products, fresh produce, and pet supplies, freshly made bread. Rotisserie chicken and patties are also available daily. Shop in comfort today at Food Max and let our courteous staff assist you in satisfying your shopping needs. Food Max, the fresh food specialist.
Rooms and more, Republic, a brand new rug on the floor. Come to Republic, come to Republic. Whatever you need, you got it. Come to and get your mortgage. Live the dream with Republic.
95 to 100% financing, 50% waiver of negotiation fees, plus one lucky person gets their mortgage paid in full. Turn someday into today. Talk to Republic Bank about your low-cost mortgage today.
Get in the game with Buster. Win a full gaming setup, Xbox X, gaming chair, gaming speaker and headset, or any of over 60 weekly prizes like Oculus Quest 2, Mini 2 drone, Nintendo Switch, and many more top gaming prizes. Check below for details.
Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up, fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Oil's Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy Oil's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Across the region tonight, 6 island nations in the Dutch Caribbean and the Netherlands have signed a memorandum of understanding, hoping to reduce the cost of airlift in the Dutch Caribbean. The MOU symbolizes what they call the unification of government and non-government entities involved in public air transport under one umbrella to improve and sustain each other islands' inter-island air transport systems. The aviation authorities anticipate that once the cost of travel between St. Martin, Saba, St. Eustatius, and Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire is reduced, leisure travel will return to an all-time high. The 6 islands have committed to forming a joint strategic plan within 30 days, which will be mandated to identify and address the factors affecting inter-island air travel as part of the MOU. The Dutch Caribbean Corporation of Airports initiated the MOU to face and resolve the inter-island connectivity issues jointly and to maximize the cooperation between those islands. The overall concern is that the cost of airlifts between the islands has skyrocketed, resulting in leisure travel being brought to a 10-year low. In Jamaica, more than 1,600 assorted cartridges were handed over to the police during a gun amnesty. The cartridges were turned in under the firearm amnesty. The head of one police department lauded the gesture. He said the amnesty is a grand opportunity for well-thinking citizens to utilize in ridding various areas of illegal firearms and ammunition. He said those persons can also positively influence others to do the right thing. The amnesty, which was brought into effect under the Firearms Act, began on the 4th of November and will end on the 20th of November across Jamaica. Holders of illegal firearms can turn in the weapons and avoid sanctions, including the mandatory 15-year prison sentence that has been included in Jamaica's revised firearm law. The event this past weekend came 2 days after a Glock pistol and 2 magazines were handed over to the police in the area of Portland, Jamaica. And finally tonight, international news. U.S. President Joe Biden has promised that there will be no new Cold War with China, following a conciliatory meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Mr. Biden also said he did not believe China would invade Taiwan. It was the first in-person meeting between the two superpower leaders since Mr. Biden took office. The pair also discussed North Korea and Russia's invasion of Ukraine at the talks in Bali, a day before the G20 summit on the Indonesian island. In a 3-hour meeting held at a luxury hotel shortly after Mr. Xi's arrival, the leaders discussed a wider range of topics, including Taiwan. Claimed by Beijing, the self-governed island counts the U.S. as an ally and has always been a thorny issue in U.S.-China relations. Tensions spiked back in August when U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. China responded with large-scale military exercises around the island, prompting fears of a possible conflict between the U.S. and China. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.